Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today for the revolution of genomics. We're going to give everyone just another minute or two to join, and then we'll get started. Thanks.
CB Insights will help you to find the next unicorn. Will help you to see where the smart money is investing. CBinsights.com will help you to discover the next hot industry. CB Insights.
Okay everyone, thanks for waiting. My name is Riley from CB Insights, and I'll be walking you through a few housekeeping items before turning it over to Nikhil for the presentation. First, don't worry about taking notes, as we'll be sending both the slides and the recording to you right after the webinar. Second, if you have any technical difficulties during the webinar, your best bet is to reach out to the Citrix Help Desk. You can also tweet at us or send an email to webinar@cbinsights.com, and we'll do our best to help. But again, we'll send everything out afterwards, so don't worry too much. Okay, so as with all of our webinars, we'll be moving through a lot of data and insights and doing it pretty quickly. But we also want to make sure we're answering your questions and keeping this relevant. So throughout the webinar, feel free to ask us questions using the Questions tab within GoToWebinar or via Twitter using the hashtag Genomics. So a little bit on CB Insights. We're a data science and machine learning organization backed by Pilot Growth Equity and the National Science Foundation. We track every private company in the world and all of the investment and financing activity related to them to help our clients answer questions about major trends, competitor strategy, potential disruptors, and much more. Here you can see a few of our happy customers. Now a little on Nikhil. Nikhil is a research analyst here at CB Insights. His research focuses on biotechnology, drug development, digital health, and more. He worked at several other startups before joining CB Insights, including Relationship Science, Global Thermostat, and Uber. Nikhil's research has been featured several times in the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, New York Times, and more, and he's a graduate from Columbia University. Now I'm going to hand it off to him for the presentation.
Thanks for the introduction, Riley. And as it was mentioned a bit earlier, today I'm going to be talking a little bit about genomics. I'm going to be covering a lot of material, and apologies if I skim through some of these slides more quickly, but you should be getting these slides and the recording later, so there's no need to take notes. In the next 20-25 minutes I have with you all, I'm going to start by talking about some of the more macro trends and why genomics is important today, the private market trends, investors, and exits, the role corporates play in this space, and then I'll talk a little bit about some of the different business models and approaches genomics companies are taking. I'll wrap up with the webinar by talking about the government's role in all this, with a case study on 23andMe, and finally some things to think about looking forward. To clarify, as I go through this presentation, I'm going to be focusing mostly on the technology and data creation aspect of genomics. So more specifically focusing on diagnostic tests that focus around genetics and DNA, genetic sequencing itself and how the data is actually created and captured, and also the tools used to make sense of the data. I won't be talking about the applications of genomics, which are things like gene editing and new therapies, and anything in the more medical realm. Great, so that being said, let's talk about some of the larger trends and why genomics is important today. Our genome is essentially the blueprint for what happens in our bodies. By understanding our genome, the idea is that we'll be able to understand as much as possible about our individual health, and we'll be able to better plan and personalize our wellness. This includes everything from family planning and understanding hereditary disease, to analyzing how certain medications will affect us, and even knowing what our risks are for developing certain diseases. One of the main shifts that's opening possibilities in genomics today are the rapidly falling cost of sequencing a full genome. Thanks to advances in sequencing techniques, the cost has fallen dramatically since the human genome